3,
Two,
1.
monkey bars.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Thicc and Butter podcast. My name is Alex.
I'm Jesse.
AKA Thicc.
And Butter.
And this is episode 63. We took a week hiatus.
Has it been 2 weeks? It might be. Well, I guess it's been 2 weeks since we recorded, but we released an episode.
It.
Yeah.
And then it's been a week since we posted one. And so it's great to be back. It's great to be back.
I've missed it so much. I was so excited to set it up, and my spirits are a little bit lower after that fiasco of dealing with it, of all the camera shit.
Yeah, the audience doesn't know.
The audience doesn't know. I'm so hyped right now. I am so excited. There's nothing I could be mad about right now. I'm only good things. I got a glider cider.
Dude,
what could be worse?
Dude, we also had. I was hoping that you were gonna have an Angry Orchard.
Oh,
I was like, this episode is brought to you by Angry Orchard,
but not today.
Cider. But it's brought
it still could
by
be
cider. It still could be. You're right.
This episode is brought to you by cider. That's like saying
cider.
It's not like saying this, but it's like saying this episode's brought to you by water, which is kind of true. We survive on water.
We should do that. That's fantastic. This episode is brought to you by water?
Dude, you can tie in your water reviews as being sponsorship advertisements.
Forever.
Well, you got to now since we're being sponsored by them.
We have a YouTube channel, so maybe I should. That should be a YouTube thing that I do is water reviews.
I've missed those, man. It's what is it? When the last one you made was like, it's been years now.
The last one I made, years. The last one I made was, I think, for Black Water. It was the.
Oh shit! That was on that camping trip.
That video is one of the craziest videos ever because I slept in a car that night. And I didn't sleep, you know.
Yeah.
And I slept in a car, and I remember one of my favorite reactions ever was, we went on a camping trip last year before the pandemic hit, and we were sleeping in tents, and I didn't bring a sleeping bag or anything, or a mattress topper or anything like that, so I slept on the ground. So we crawl into these tents at 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, I can't, this is horrible, I can't sleep on this.
Yeah.
So I go in my car, and I slept in my car. But I didn't tell anybody. It was you, it was 4 or 5 of our friends.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up and crawling out of the car and seeing you all go what the fuck?
I think no one knew where you were for a long time. We all woke up and was like, where the hell's Alex? And when you crawled out of the car, you looked like Gollum.
Yeah, dude, I have it, in that video, it's on my Thicc Boy Dave Instagram.
We should cut it. We should cut it in here.
Yeah, maybe I'll edit it in here. But but yeah, I look crazy. Look like I've never looked so tired in my life. And I'm reviewing Black Water, which is
Dude,
you guys don't know, it's water that is straight up black. It's not dyed black to be cool. There's some mineral in it that makes it black. And we were at the store, and I was like, I gotta get this. It's disgusting. We pour it out. It looks like creek water. It looks dirty and ugh.
I love when you were reviewing that. Do you remember in Lord of the Rings? Do you remember the Lord of the Horse People? When he's still affected by Saruman. and he's
Oh yeah.
and he's all shriveled up in his chair because you had a huge blanket over you, cocooned on you like you were a fucking butterfly about to a caterpillar, a gross caterpillar about to metamorphosis into a butterfly.
Out of that cocoon.
It looked like your face was sagging. You were so tired. You were so tired.
Yeah, man, that was funny though. But yeah, you know, those pre-candy memories.
Good times, good times. Which we could do that now. We can do that during a pandemic. We could go out and go camping, but it's still pre-pandy times. There's still pre-panding times. Pre-pandy. Hey, were you born pre-pandy or post-pandy?
Dude, that's so good. I love that so much.
Yeah, just change our...
There's gonna be a lot of pandy babies.
Pandy baby? Yeah, dude, that's so true. Dude, baby boomer. Dude, there's gonna be pandies. That's what we're gonna call them. There's not gonna be boomers. Whoa, that's so weird. I hope pandies are cooler than boomers.
Because, like, you know, all these... No, I don't think so. I think the pandies are just gonna be the new boomers. You know, in how many years? 30 years? They're gonna be, we grew up in the pandy, we know what it's like.
Man, that would be weird. Dude, is that gonna be us, dude? Yeah. No, the pandies are gonna be the kids who were born during the pandies, and then they went out, and all of us, the sons, the gen, whatever the fuck we are, we're gonna be like, don't go outside. There's Jesus.
We're on the cusp of.
No, I think we're. No, are we on the cusp?
We are literally like 2 years.
Yeah, I want to look that up.
We're like very end of the millennial.
How do I even search that? Do I search like what?
Like Gen Z versus millennial.
Gen Z versus millennial. Okay,
and Gen Z is like people who were born in like 1999.
Millennials were born between 1991 and 1996. Well, Gen Z were born between 97. So we're Gen Z.
Oh, sorry.
You were close though.
Wrong research. Yeah,
you were 1 year off.
So we're well.
According to this official Google search.
Yeah. According to Wikipedia. Shout out Wikipedia.
Thanks, Wiki. Got me through.
Wikipedia actually sucks. What?
What do you mean?
I don't like it. Every time I look up something, it's just like I don't want to go on a rant about Wikipedia. So, but my point still stands that we're born in a weird time because we're Gen Z, but like, are we though? You know, because we still like grew up, like the idea of Gen Z in my mind is that you grew up with the internet, and like we did, but like not really. Like it's not the same as if you were born in 2005. You know,
right? Like we're not like the kids who like grew up with iPads and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't years of life, you know, 10, 12 years. Like I didn't really go on the internet. Like I did.
Yeah, I went outside. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, outside. Yeah, right. Crazy concept. You know,
outside.
I still have video games, I guess, but I mean, so did people who were born in 1985. You know.
Yeah. So how different are we really?
Right. I mean, I think Gen Z, like kids who were born in like 2008.
Fuck them.
So much
I don't know.
I mean, I think they're just going to be so much different than us, you know, when they're older. Because growing up with social media and growing up, like, social media is part of your life. That's all, like, that's what you know. Like, I didn't get Facebook until I was in 8th grade, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so I was kind of conscious in 8th grade. It's crazy that my children, like, have, like, an iPad when they're, like, 5, you know?
The thing that's really interesting to me is you can do some parenting to make that not happen. Yeah. But the thing that's really interesting to me is how the younger generations are not so fearful of privacy. That's just becoming not really much of a thing because
I agree with that.
Big thing that I had to get over with when dealing with social media was like putting my face in my real name.
Yeah.
Because my mom's a little bit, she's touchy around, not touchy, I shouldn't say that. She's it makes her nervous. You know, she's still very nervous because she hasn't done her research. She doesn't really know like with the internet. Both my parents are. You know, a lot of people's parents are. A lot of people our age are. Yeah. But you know, I kind of
have a great story about like older people fearing the internet like that. My dad, when he got Facebook, I'll never forget this. I was like young. I must have been 11. So this was like still have this memory. He got, this is when like Facebook really started popping off, and he was like, you know, I'm gonna get on Facebook. Like everybody else is getting on Facebook, I'll do it. So I remember him like making a profile. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I remember him, like we posed for a photo because he wanted his kids in his profile photo or whatever.
Yeah.
Cute. And he gets on Facebook, and he got off within, like he deleted his account within like 2 weeks because all these people from college and like people that he hadn't talked to in years started like messaging him and like tagging him in photos of him from like college.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is fucking weird. I'm creeped out, and he like just deleted Facebook. And
wow, interesting.
He was so freaked out by the idea that it's that easy to post a photo of, you know what I mean, like just, like putting your face out there. You know,
we think
so
about
right,
it.
Though. You're so right. Like even like us, like look at us. I'm putting my face out there on YouTube right now.
I know.
You know?
My mom always like. I made a Steam account, and her reaction to it was like I was committing a war crime almost, where we had to take care of this like it was a nuclear bomb. It's like, is it safe? You know, with the email and all that stuff. And my friend just came over. She's like, it's just Steam. I'm just playing. Yeah. But my mom, I mean, and I don't blame her because
I can't remember what my parents thought of me getting like Instagram and stuff like that. I don't remember. I don't really think they cared.
I didn't.
I think it was more that like all my friends were getting it, and I was just kind of like, I think they just saw all these kids getting it. They're like, oh, this is just what kids do, you know?
Yeah, I didn't really have any motivation to get much. I mean, for what I was, the elementary school I went to, and of course my parents, was very much this pushing very little technology, not like just in a way to say, hey, you can like play video games and you can do all that stuff, but you have to balance that out. You can't just be doing that all the time. And there's a lot of talk about it's like it's not necessarily appropriate for really, which I agree. I don't think it's necessarily super appropriate for a lot of really younger kids to be using the internet. You know, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that people under a certain age, like maybe 11 or 12, I don't know, shouldn't like be allowed to be on social media. I don't know. I don't. That's not my belief. It's just something I'm kind of like thinking about.
Yeah, social media is a little different. I think that, I don't know, man. Like, I'm starting to think about this stuff because, you know, like, I mean, I don't know when I'm going to have kids, but probably.
I'm thinking about it too. I don't know why. Maybe that's just the time right now when we have the next set of life. It's just like, I could get married. I could have a kid right now.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, we could do.
Yeah. And, but, like, it's just like, thinking of, am I going to let my kid go on, like, the internet? Like, obviously, you can't really stop that now, you know? Like, with just it's so hard to do that, you know?
Yeah.
To get your kid off the internet. But social media, I'm not going to allow that until late, like high school. Because I just think it's toxic. I think for a young kid, I mean, I remember like in middle school, like when everyone was on social media, it was a disaster. I mean, it was like people would, kids are stupid. You know, like when you're 13, you're an idiot. I mean, you don't know what the fuck is going on. And so with this like new era like social media, like I know at my high school there was this whole thing that happened when after I graduated, but people would have Finsters, these kids.
Yeah.
And they would post like things about other students in their grade, like so and so did this, blah 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 blah. That's fucked up, and I don't think that should be around. Like that shouldn't be allowed. You know, like
Sure.
and so like, but I mean, I'm not saying. That makes sense that a 13-year-old would do that if they had that power. If they're able to privately share shit about a person, but they don't realize that you're putting it on the internet for anybody to see it, you know, and share it. You know, it's just as easy. Like, sure, it's like your account is private. No, it's fucking not. Like, it's not private. It's just as easy as, like, a friend who follows that account will screenshot it and can send it to as many people as he or she wants to.
Yeah.
So and it's not private.
I think that it's probably going to turn into a thing similar to sex education. I had another example, but I think it's...
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think it's actually a similar dilemma because...
Like there's going to be a class.
Which we had... I had that in middle school where I had like an internet like education, like warning type of things. But the problem is similar to what our problem with sex education right now. Because what sex education is, most of the time, is essentially just shaming and scaring people to not have sex. Similar things, like scaring people to not use the internet. That's obviously stupid and ineffective, so we need to get better at that.
I had a pretty good sex ed class. Like, it wasn't like that at all. But I've heard, most of
Well, here's the thing. Mine, I didn't have a Christian sex education. And I didn't think my sex education was all that bad until I realized that it taught me fucking nothing about sex. I had to learn all of the appropriate things about being in a relationship after being in a relationship, you know? And some of those things were things which were more going in depth about like consent and stuff like that. So it's not like... Sure, like Christian people just abusing people to say like stay a virgin until like a old guy fucks you and then you can have kids and expand.
Whoa, that happens, you know.
Yeah,
that's
it does.
Like a real thing.
Yeah, so I think it'll be like that when we just have to we have to learn, we have to see what it's like first, because the other thing is it might be essential for people to have social media. You know how many shit I do using my Facebook account or like my Apple account? There's so many fucking passwords and all these interconnectivities that just make it all work. And maybe that's a bad thing, but that's just how the world is. My Google account is like my left testicle. That's how essential it is in a lot of ways. I use it all the time.
I don't know if the left one's as essential as the right one. But I'm going to be wrong about that. Leave a comment.
So you have a right testy preference, is what you're saying. Right testy preference.
Yeah, righties my
You
favorite.
put investments in the righties.
Paul is my favorite.
Paul. Paul and what?
Paul and Bill.
Paul and Bill. Mine's Smith and Martha.
Oh.
They're married.
That would creep me to like no end.
What?
I comes up and like, my testes are married. It's like, whoa.
What?
But yeah, I mean, I love that. It's just such an interesting conversation because you're totally right. Like, social media is so connected to almost everything in the world today, and I think that needs to fucking stop. But I think it's connected, but it's not. Like, you could live a life and not have a fucking Google.
Yeah.
You know?
See,
that's what I think a huge misconception about, like, just social media in general is. Like, when I got it, I was like, well, I gotta have this to be a person. But then you quickly realize, like, no, you don't. Like, you can delete all that shit and, like, still be fucking normal. It might be healthier to not have
okay.
Like that.
Okay, that's a really, really good point, because I totally agree with you, because the toxic way to deal with social media is if you want to think, if you need to engage with the world, you need to use social media. That's fucking, I totally agree. That's fucked up. And that's going to lead to a toxic and bad relationship and just drain your life. Yeah. And my experience with social media is I really have not had much interest in it until recently, because what's interesting to me about it is for business opportunities.
Absolutely.
Because I want to be an independent artist, and that's why social media is awesome. It's not awesome. Yeah. It's not awesome for friendships. That's a bad thing about this language about like making friends on Facebook. It's fucking not that. It's networking, right?
Yeah.
It's networking where you can find businesses and like the albums, record stores and stuff.
I've never heard of someone be like, yeah, I met this guy on Facebook or Reddit or something like that.
I actually...
I was definitely happened before, but no one at my circle has said that. But.
It's an interesting thing because... it's really complicated because internet relationships are valuable, but they're internet relationships.
Yeah.
Like you can meet people while you're playing on gaming,
sure.
and they can be like real ass friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe you have like a legitimate relationship like that through someone on text,
Right.
But if you're a 14-year-old girl, there's certain things you should pay attention to when you're messaging Mr. Joe Schmo with the sexy beach pic.
Catfish,
Yeah, that guy's a catfish.
Right.
I guess what's a female version of a catfish? I never thought about that before.
I don't know. I think it's just catfish.
I always thought catfish was specifically a man posing as a woman. Yeah, trying to get young, cute boys. A hagfish?
A young, cute boy? I don't know.
Anyways, it's a really interesting thing, and I think that
we'll go on and on and on about it.
Here's I think the biggest problem that we have right now is that we think that we are at the cusp. We know what's happening. This tidal wave is just beginning. Just like the pandemic. Everyone thinks we're through the pandemic. We're not. This tidal wave is just starting up.
Who thinks that we're done with the pandemic?
Florida, the whole state of Florida.
Well, here's the thing.
Not now, hopefully.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the crazy part of it. This is all I'll say about that. Is that in a lot of ways the world is. Our country isn't. Our country isn't. If you look at the numbers are staggering. They are shocking and they're disturbing. When you look at them, you're like, wow, we really are the dumbest people in the world, aren't we? I mean, we really are. I mean, that's just a fact.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
sad.
so utterly depressing,
I think that has to do with the U.S. still being such a young country.
Probably.
We're just so capitalist and individualistic.
Well, it's
so
so
individualistic.
I actually had a conversation with my friend about this last night. It's that. It's the idea of freedom. It's the idea of, like, that's what's so great about America, though, too, at the same time, though. Like,
it is.
Individualism, the idea of, the American dream, building your own path in your life, But with that comes, people aren't, we're human beings. Most of us aren't very smart. And most of us don't know how to navigate, just a life. So what you get is these entitled idiots that are like, I don't need to wear a mask, America. But no.
Yeah.
So.
That reminds me of something my mom always reminds me of when talking about this duality of freedom, the good and the bad of it. She always reminds me, like basically anytime I come with a problem, it's like, oh, Mom, this is so fucked up, or whatever, I'm having a hard time. She's always like, Jess, people have strengths and they have weaknesses, right? And that's such an important thing to remember. It's such a simple thing. Some people are good at some things, and some people are just not good at those things.
Right.
And what makes a good person, the problem with the capitalist society, the way that she describes it, and this really resonates with me, is that it enables people who are good at certain strengths just to lean into their strength and say the things that they're bad at mark a bad person. Right. But what makes the people to be competitive, to be hyper aggressive, all those like heteronormative, all that junk. It's not like those qualities are bad intrinsically, but it's that they say this is all you need to be a successful person in America. But that's not what you need to be a good person. To be a good person, your strengths are natural. You don't really have to hone your strengths.
Yeah.
But a good person is someone who works on their weaknesses, tries to be a better person and flesh themselves out. You're never going to be, well, what fucking ever. I was saying something and then I accidentally stopped recording.
America's a weird country. Social media sucks. People are complicated. I feel like a lot of...
I moved to Colorado, too.
I don't know how we got into that whole conversation. But,
that was a good conversation.
Yeah. We always start these podcasts off with a bang. I think the last one, we talked about Kanye running for president.
Monkeys.
That's some good news that we could report. It's like, that's not going to happen, so that's good.
Yeah, thank God. That fizzled out. That was just some drama.
I wasn't worried at all. It's funny, dude.
Yeah.
But do you want to talk about this movie now?
Yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this movie.
So you chose it, yeah. So please describe what this is, why you wanted to watch it. Take it away.
So I chose an animated film called Wizards.
Yeah, that's a cool.
Is this like backwards?
No,
This will be
no.
Sards. Anyway, Wizards is a Ralph Bakshi film. With Ralph Bakshi made films like Fritz the Cat. He made an animated adaptation of The Lord of the Rings, which I think is lesser known. But this is like a old animated film, 1977. Which, depending on who you talk to, that might not be that old. But in terms of some
40, that's like 40. 43 years ago. 43 years ago.
I laugh at you, but I wasn't gonna help out because I don't fucking know.
43 years ago.
It's not as old as Snow White, which was made in the 40s, right?
43 years ago.
Okay, well, 70 plus 30 is
2003.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, 53 years ago. 53.
Yeah.
It's not as old as Snow White, which was made in like the 40s and some of the old G films. But the thing that's interesting about this and the cool thing about
Snow White came out in 1939.
I know, and people still watch it.
Old.
And it still looks so good. It's and
So
the thing
good.
that's the thing about great animation.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's everlasting.
Yeah.
But Wizards, the significance of Wizards is it sort of marks a popular success of a more underground, subversive, more adult-oriented film, which ironically,
which was like a very like radical time in terms of cinema and the world. And that's what I was kept reminded while watching this movie. But
and it's interesting because this film is very, very counterculture. But the interesting thing about this is that Ralph Bakshi made a lot of, subversive films. Fritz the Cat is, very subversive. There's furry shit in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Wizards, again, this is from Wikipedia, so I don't know how legitimate this statement actually is, but it was a quote from him, where Wizards was an attempt to make a family-oriented film. Hard quotations around family-oriented film, because this is not a family film.
No,
this is... So Wizards is set in like a Lord of the Rings fantasy world,
right?
And it's pitted where you have two brothers.
Dark Crystal.
Yeah, kind of like that, where there's basically a good faction and a bad faction, like a good wizard and a bad wizard, and they go at it.
Right.
So let's talk about it from here because it's way weirder than that.
Okay, I thought this movie was fucking great. I loved this movie. I thought it was. I love cult movies. I really do. And I'll tell you a story. The first time I heard about this movie, I was watching, Amoeba, that record store. They have this great YouTube channel where they have like artists go on there and they talk about what's in their bag. They go in there and they get records and movies. So I was watching Matt DeMarco. his what's in the bag, and he pulls out Wizards.
That might actually be how I found this too.
Yeah, and he's like, this movie is fucking batshit insane, and I love it. And I was like, okay, so I added it on my list. And so, this movie is fucking batshit insane, and I love it. And I think one of the things that I love, the thing that I love most about this movie, is this man didn't give a fuck. What, the world that he creates in this movie is so unique and so strange that it's really hard not to admire it and get wrapped up in it, because there are, it's a Lord of the Rings thing, but they have laser guns. They have the evil wizard has modern technology, as in movie projectors and planes, and he doesn't care. He's just like, I want, and and the evil wizard's henchmen are frogs. You know, he doesn't. You know, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's such a combination of so many different things.
Yeah, you really hit. I think the really bizarre thing about this is that in a lot of ways, if you just take the fantasy stuff in this, it's pretty like bread and butter, fantasy films.
Yeah.
It's wizards.
Elves,
there's not even that
fairies.
many. Like, there's only wizards, elves, and fairies.
Right.
There's not even like orcs and shit or other weird things like that.
right.
You know, there's some lizard-like people,
Right.
but you know, they're just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But the weird thing about this is how he also has all this technology added in, where the whole evil faction has like guns and stuff.
Nazi propaganda as
Yeah!
a weapon.
That was okay. I was going in not like having any expectations for this movie, and I knew it was going to be weird, and I was not looking into anything because I wanted to be surprised. I was not fucking expecting Nazis.
Yeah.
And Nazis, like, okay. I think that worked because it was so weird.
It was a really interesting. You know, there's parts of this movie that are kind of like rough. You know, kind of like, you know.
Yes, I agree.
One of the things about it, though, that I love is, like, it has a spirit about it that is so fun. I mean, this movie doesn't take itself seriously. And it's really fun and silly and crazy. And the fact that, like, 20th Century Fox put this movie out the same year as Star Wars, weirdly connecting Mark Hamill is in this movie for 5 seconds.
Really short. It's credited as his debut too, which is interesting that it was before Star Wars, which is again like so close. They're so close together because he was making it at the same time.
Yeah, I wonder if they were making Wizards like on the same lot or the same studio.
Yeah.
As Star Wars.
I don't know. I don't really know where animation took place.
I wouldn't be opposed. I wouldn't be surprised if it was on the Century Fox lot.
Yeah.
I just like to think that Ralph met him while he was shooting Star Wars and was like, "Hey, you want to be a voice in this movie?"
I think Mark auditioned because Mark probably. I think he's always had aspirations as a voice actor, so he's probably just trying to.
One of the greatest voice actors of all time. I mean,
Joker.
I think so. Yeah,
he's incredible.
Yeah.
He's so incredible. Yeah. I think he might be a better voice actor than actor. Well,
100%.
Okay, he's grown to.
Absolutely right. You do not argue that point.
Well, the only reason I would say I think that through voice acting it made him a better actor because in The Last Jedi he was great.
Yeah,
so he learned how to be an actor.
Yeah. He's
but
not a bad actor. I just think
he's a better voice actor.
Dude, if you're telling me that his performance in Star Wars is good, I mean, give me a break.
It's iconic.
Yeah, it's great. But he's not, you know, like, come on.
Yeah.
I gotta go to the Kentucky Station and pick up some power holders.
Oh.
Yeah, anyway. But,
Did you catch him? Did you catch him when he popped up? Because I didn't notice his voice.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I just, you know, my Star Wars sense is too good.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. This
movie
movie.
He's just using his natural voice. That probably helped it. But,
yeah.
But yeah, this movie's fucking crazy, man. Do you want to get into like kind of? So yeah, you're right. It's basically there's really cool animation. Also, there's some cool, unique animation style.
Yeah,
in this
he
movie.
uses
really unique and weird and cool like backgrounds. Like the opening of this movie has these cool still.
Yeah.
Frames, but the background is like moving, almost like the animation's in front of like a green screen or something.
Which I think it is. There's a lot of stuff where there's like green screen smoke and the animation, like a lot of the Scorch, the evil place with Black Dog. What's his name? Black Wolf? Blackbird?
I want to say it's
Black
Wolf.
Guy?
It's like Wolf Dog or something.
Wolf Dog. His name is Wolf Dog. I'm sure that's it. I'm sure his name is Wolf Dog. We'll call him Wolf Dog.
You know what my favorite name in this whole movie is, hold on. I want to make sure I get it right. I wrote it down. The best name in this whole movie is Too Little.
P. Whittle?
Yeah, there's a guy named P. Whittle.
Wow. Man,
like
as I'm watching it...
It's like one of the elf names. He's like, hey, P. Whittle! P. Whittle.
Oh, man. Okay, so I'm gonna come clean about this. Because I'm in Colorado. And Mom, if you're listening to this, we had a conversation about drugs a while ago. So if this is what's going to lead us to have this conversation in person, I'm okay with that. Yes, I watched this. I watched this under the influence of a legal edible from Colorado.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what Ralph wanted you to do.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't regret it. But the problem about watching movies when you're stoned is that it's really hard to know. For one thing, it's hard to remember shit, and the second thing is, which I'm remembering it as we're talking back, and it's so much weirder as I remember it.
Yeah.
But the other hard thing is, like, did that fucking happen like I thought it happened or not? And there was a lot of moments like that because. Jeez, this movie. I'm gonna open my notes now, and I've been putting off opening my notes because I know they're crazy. Because I didn't really take real notes. I didn't really take thoughtful notes. I just sort of I expressed myself as I was writing.
Yeah. So I kind of one of the things that like that was kind of the main point that I wanted to make is that I love the combination of worlds that he puts to what you write. I can't read it.
Look at how crazy it is.
Yeah, it looks like a serial killer's notebook.
This is like, I mean, it doesn't look too much for... I have swastika with this big of letters written on it.
Dude,
I can't even read this. Dude, I have to send you... Okay, I'll post a picture of this. Oh my god. This...
But I think we should also discuss how not family friendly this is.
Yeah, it's really sexual and it's really violent.
Really violent, and the thing that made me laugh so hard is when Penelope is Penelope, is that her name?
Eleanor,
Eleanor.
Yeah,
Eleanor is introduced
with her tits.
I died. I died. You know, I was like, this is hilarious. Because Avatar, the good wizard, who is hysterical, the idea that he is good, like, the voice actor was just perfect. Like, the idea of this, like, I don't even know how to gigolo, almost. He's, like, sounded like a New York gigolo.
Yeah.
And he's, like, this wizard that's just, like...
The Wikipedia said that the voice actor was trying to do an impression of Peter Falk.
Yeah, that sounds very on point. And I loved it, but I loved that he had his wife or his, you know, whatever, his mistress or something.
Eleanor was a love interest throughout most of the movie.
Yeah, and Eleanor is like this. I mean, all I can really say is if she was a live action person, you know, she's a live action character, you would say that lady has gone through some shit. You know, she's seen some things. You know, and I loved it. It was hilarious.
I love that
character
Eleanor
has nipples. You know,
Eleanor,
nipples.
the character, is such a strange character to me because there's fairies in this movie, but she's fucking ginormous. She's like normal. She's bigger than normal humans.
Yeah, that was the weird part.
She's the biggest character in the whole film.
And then the other fairies are like, you know, this big.
Bite size.
Like, what did she do?
I think there was a line. There was a line to say that Eleanor was like the fairy of all fairies or something like that. But her dad was just a normal president. You know, he was just a normal guy. The dad who got, like, mowed down by an Uzi.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
This movie's so weird.
Yeah, there's guns. Yeah, I started laughing when the movie opens with, you know, magic is, you know, this movie also weirdly reminded me of Star Wars in the way, like, because it's Challenge Severe, and it's super weird that Mark Hamill, there's so many connections, like, there's a Mark Hamill connection, and also, you know, Star Wars, the Empire is very much connected to Nazis, you know, and you Nazi regime. And this movie, 100%, like, I mean, unabashedly, there's a whole scene in this movie where they go into like the two, I don't know, the frog people or the evil henchmen go into a room with all of the magical artifacts throughout history to go destroy it. You know what I mean? Like, they're very on the nose of that, you know?
Dude, I don't remember that scene at all.
Well, that's the scene when we're introduced to the two wizards that are hanging out there, and they are, like, you know, religious, and they, like, start spanking each other on the butt. And, that's the scene.
I remember now.
Yeah, that's the scene. But it's weird because
we have to put that on the Instagram too.
Oh yeah,
I have a clip of that. I can just send you that, and we'll just put that on Instagram.
That's one of the best things I've ever seen in my life.
Holy cow! But I was not ready for that at all.
It's so fucking funny.
Wow.
But even like, but in the opening, they're like, yeah, they're trying to find all the people who believe in magic. To do magic,
squash them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, the evil people are just Nazis. That's just what they are.
They're fucking they're doing genocides.
And then they love Nazis because they have a film of Nazi propaganda, and it's a real propaganda movie.
Yeah.
In this animated film, there's this Nazi footage, like in this movie. Like,
so weird.
Imagine, this came out in 1977.
Yeah.
This movie, I bet there were so many fucking people, probably like college kids, were like, hey man, let's take acid and go see this fucking movie, man, this animated movie. I bet you this movie was played on loops in colleges, you know?
Yeah,
throughout
totally.
the 80s, and because it's so tricked out. It's so tricked out. Especially like the last act of this movie is so fucking batshit. Like when the elves, there's a war going on between the elves and the fucking, I don't know the other faction. I don't know.
Like the bad people, the frog. They're mutants. They're mutants. That's what they're called. They call them mutants.
And, like, that whole scene is so crazy. Because it's like this animated sequence of, elves, like, killing, and the black people have guns. They have just fucking guns. And, like, the elves have swords and shit. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? But, like, with that, they intercut, like, fucking Nazi footage, like with the last that segment in this movie is avant-garde as fuck. Like it's so bizarre. Like
it's really interesting, kind of talking about the blended animation techniques that are used because we have the traditional sort of Ralph Bakshi style like character animations, which look kind of cartoonish, which. If put in a different context, could just be a family-friendly cartoon.
Absolutely.
And then you have like the backgrounds, which are like these abstract, beautiful paintings,
beautiful,
and drawings.
Kind of almost like watercolor.
Yeah, and then you have like the green screen backgrounds sometimes, which is like a taste of real life. You have real Nazi footage, and then for the army scenes, they have this bizarre distorted rotoscoping going on.
Rotoscoping.
What the hell?
Yeah.
So really they have all, and it's really effective because the rotoscoping is so contradicting to like the good people, and the rotoscoping only depicts the bad army, and it looks, and they do it where they don't fully like animate all of the characters and like and finish the lines, so they're kind of like this distorted, wavy, impressionistic like rotoscoping style, which is just really freaky. It's very freaky. Effective.
It's really cool. I was really into this movie. I also thought it was goddamn, like, hilarious. I mean, I thought this movie was hysterical. I mean, I think that the characters in this movie are they're so specific.
Yeah.
And they're so just funny. I mean, it almost feels like, It almost feels like he's almost making fun of fantasy movies in a weird way.
Yeah, I think it's very tongue-in-cheek. It's super tongue-in-cheek.
You know, I keep bringing back to this, but the evil guy pulls, like, the whole basis of the movies, we gotta destroy the movie projector so they don't play this Nazi footage. Because when they play it, the elves, like, get super scared.
Yeah.
And they're really freaky. When that first happens, it's like, whoa, man, this is...
Yeah, because the projector can apparently, like, just cover the whole sky, and it's just Hitler all around, like, that's all you can see.
This movie stand out, and I think is still talked about today. Because that's a really interesting blending of, stuff going on. It's like this fun fantasy romp. That's what it is. It's like good versus evil, and we gotta go to over the mountain to the scorch, this evil forest, this evil place to kill the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
But weirdly, it turns out that this whole movie is about genocide. It is about the evils and the horrors of genocide.
Yeah.
I was really blown away by that, and kind of like, I love how the movie like transformed into it, and it didn't feel like out of place because the movie's so fucking bizarre, and you don't know, like there are these sequences that are very fun and bubbly and with a lot of like humor and fun to them, and then one elf literally gets slaughtered in front of their friends, just mowed down. With a
Watership
gun.
Watership Down style massacre.
Yeah. I mean, so this on paper should not work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yes, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
This is a disaster.
I mean,
it really does.
It brings into questions. Yeah, I do. I agree, and I think that it brings, because that's totally something where like blending the idea of adding in real person footage into animation is just totally not acceptable. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But
I think the world he created is so surreal that almost anything could happen, right?
And it's so interesting when he adds in the Hitler footage, because he talks about that the reason the world is like it is because of some kind of first Holocaust. Because what the quest is about stopping a second Holocaust, which is assuming...
That was super... Yeah, exactly. I know where you're going with this.
So it's like, it says this is the future.
Exist in the world? Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
so I think that's so... That's such a cool detail.
Yeah, it's like this movie is an alternative reality if like Hitler won World War II or something.
You can also take this as maybe the film is trying to say, genocide and stuff like this will never end. Maybe Ralph is, maybe he feels that way. Maybe he feels, because he wrote and directed this movie, feels like such a passion project, probably animated it too. But, maybe he's trying to say something with this movie. I don't think that, humans will ever stop doing this, because this takes place, 3,000, years later or whatever,
You know what's a really interesting thing about Nazism and stories is that I think that this is going to sound bad at first, but we owe a lot to Nazism when it comes to writing stories, because the archetype of many, if not potentially all, of like the horrible antagonist in movies seem to stem from Nazism. So much of American like writing, and maybe human writing, is based off of the general evil that we imagine.
World War II. I mean, post World War II is such a, I mean, especially during the 70s and 60s. I mean, there's a whole, you could study that. I mean, you can study post World War II cinema. I mean, it's super interesting looking into that.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing, is that now when we have the post-World War II cinema, that's basing it off of Nazis, that kind of evil, like Captain America, all of that. For one, we still have Captain America, so those values are still the same thing in the modern age.
Yeah.
And when we make new movies, we're basing it off of those post-World War II movies. So in a way, we're still basing it. It's like, oh, no, I'm not basing it off of Hitler. I'm basing it off of Darth Vader, who's Hitler.
Right. Well, I think that's just the idea of, like that, when World War II happened, it was almost really the starting of cinema as we know it,
Yeah, sure.
And so I think it makes sense that some of the classic and early films like were inspired by, the horrors of war and what was going on in the world in that time.
Yeah.
And that's such an interesting point, that you make because, I mean, maybe post the Trump America might be, something that inspires a lot of other art. That's just how the world works. So,
Yeah.
Like just the gun happens, Vietnam War. Think about how many movies about the Vietnam War there are. Not even just about the Vietnam War, but that are reactions to the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And that's a whole. What you're describing is a whole segment of film studies and journalism that people have been doing for decades. Studying shit like that.
And this whole phenomenon of this stuff happening, I think the modern world has created a wonderful word for it, which is trending. And that's the new thing. That's what this shit is happening right now. In the 70s, Hitler was trending like crazy all over the place.
Number one.
He was even hotter. Top Google search in the 40s. Crazy. Who is Hitler? Who is this guy? Why is his mustache so weird? How tall is Hitler?
We're gonna get demonetized.
That's fine. We're not making money anyways.
Yeah. True.
Total freedom.
Copyright claim. Hitler's estate. Copyright claim.
Yeah, what if YouTube just sent us that in the mail? It's just like, Hitler, no.
Yeah. But this movie is also like 70s as fuck too. Like,
yeah.
The soundtrack is
I love
awesome.
the soundtrack.
It's
I love the soundtrack.
I mean, it's just so like bluesy, and jazzy, and psychedelic in a lot of ways. Cause this is 70s around the time when people were doing acid, man.
You got that weird jazz coming in.
Yeah. So, man. I thought this movie was really fun and really cool, and I've heard of Fritz the Cat. Never seen it. I've heard it's freaky as all hell. That's the only thing I've heard about it. So it's added there, and I'm gonna watch it at some point.
Yeah. Another thing that was really strange, I thought, about this film was how bizarre the structure was. Because the first 20 minutes of this film, I could have just been stoned. But like for the first 20 minutes of this film, you didn't know who the main character was. Because it was almost like it was this animated...
I honestly couldn't tell you who the main character was in this movie. I mean, I don't think it's Avatar,
That's who I think. I think it's definitely Avatar by the end of the movie. Yeah, it's like, okay, this was about Avatar, because it's about the two brothers.
That's his name. I love that his name is Avatar.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's so on the nose and so funny,
Yeah, just so literal.
So literal, like.
But the first half of this part, the first 20 minutes of this movie, which is a long time, is just sort of like this like interactive experience of this world's history.
Yeah, right.
Going up to which that's 20 minutes is a long time to not know who the main character is.
And also like kind of like the first 5 minutes to set up the world. We're gonna need a lot of the beginning of the Dark Crystal. And then. Like, we're gonna do that night that guy who's sent out into the world to hunt down.
Peace or Necron 99. Yeah, the assassin who's on the front cover. Yeah. I'd see. This is the thing that's interesting to me. Right. Why is this guy on the front cover? I love this character, but why does he symbolize this movie?
I don't know.
That doesn't quite make sense to me.
That's not even a wizard. That's not even one of the wizards.
Like, I love this movie, but why isn't it like Wolf Dog and Avatar?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Why is it Necron? Yeah, I love this cover. The reason why I was so interested in this movie was because of this cover.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just that. Maybe Rolf Jackson just thought like, fuck Avatar and Wolf Dog. Necron 99, this is the shit.
Or if 20th Century Fox just being like, who's cool? Let's put him on the cover,
I mean, he's this interesting. I don't know. The interesting thing about Necron is that he is the character that he has a laser gun, and he's the character who turns to good, right? So he starts as Necron 99 and turns into Peace. So maybe he's just like symbolizes the whole movement of things.
Yeah,
I'm spitballing. I don't know.
There you go. That's pretty good. Good.
But
yeah, guys, this is a wacky one. If you're into like weird animation movies, so, like this is a must watch. This is like something
definitely.
that has probably inspired a lot of people. Like a lot of animators post 70s. It's weird that I still hear about this movie. And it's definitely in the film Twitter consciousness.
Yeah.
Still, I know Sargonacast.
They just did a podcast about this.
On this podcast, I think, on this movie.
On this movie,
on this podcast, they did an episode about the Thicc and Butter podcast.
So Ralph, what do you think? What do you think about that Alex guy? He's a pretty good guy. Yeah, he's
alright.
He's okay.
He's kind of dumb, but he's alright. But yeah, I thought this was great. It surprised me. I thought this was gonna be kind of like a trippy kind of wacky movie, but I found there's a lot of substance in this movie.
Yeah. Like you mean in terms of story?
Yeah,
and that kind of thing.
It's gonna be kind of like
and messaging and whatever.
Be kind of wacky and strange.
Yeah.
But there's actually something going on and something that we talk about.
Let me ask you something. Because one of the things that I had in this movie that was maybe unsettling is the word for it was just that this movie is overall very mature. I would say, very mature in themes. Maybe the 70s was a different place, and this is just mature for 2020 style people. Maybe we've lost our edge since then. But one of the things that was so weird to me was the amount of Tom and Jerry slapstick in this movie. That was like and so one of the examples, like
I think that was just of the times because
of animation. That I was thinking that too.
It's kind of I love slapstick comedy. It needs to come back. It's great. The problem with slapstick comedy is it's been around for decades and decades and decades.
Yeah,
and it's almost been perfected to an extent from like the airplane movies and the gun movies and shit like that. That it's almost impossible to do slapstick nowadays. But during the 70s, you had, like, Airplane. You had, like, all the huge comedies that were coming out were slapstick. Also, Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry. So I think it was just kind of because of that. But why we found that disturbing?
Well, it was disturbing to me because of the contrast. It was just so weird to go from genocide to slap. Like, for example, the cutaways to the soldier, there is like 5 minutes of footage of like the pig soldiers, just like the whole oh my god, that was such a weird scene. Well, first of all, the rabbi scene, whatever the fuck that was.
Incredible.
But then there was also the they killed Fritz scene. That was the first time it happened, where we were going on like the trajectory.
Dude, that was like, I wrote my notes there next to like, am I tripping balls right now? Because that scene was fucking insane.
It was so weird,
crazy. Because he goes, the guy's like, oh, he's freaking out, like, oh, I killed Fritz, and then he shoots Fritz.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, and then he goes and do it again.
Yeah.
I was like,
what the hell?
What did I just watch? Like, that
and the weird thing is that it just comes out of fucking nowhere. It just cuts from, I wish I knew what happened right before it, but it cuts from, like, the quest, them starting or whatever, then just to that, and it's just like, what's happening?
To those characters. Like, it was so... there's some weird shit in this movie, man.
So it's like it's such, and I think that goes back to just talking about how strange the structure is, because it's so unconventional. As it's not like the Lord of the Rings where we have a quest and we're fucking following Frodo, we're following that path, and then for all of that we're following that for the while, mostly in the Fellowship where we just stay on his narrative,
exactly.
And then Two Tower comes, they split, and you have this parallel narrative where you're going two places. But this time. There's like, you have like the macro sense where it's just like, okay, we're watching this from nobody's perspective. We're just watching the world. And then it's just like, okay, now we go and we watch like the Avatar quest, and they're going along and they're figuring all this shit out. And then we go to these random soldiers and then back to Necron 99, who's then a friend now, and then he's cool, and then Eleanor betrays them, so we're with them over here, and we're with Wolfdog, and he's a Nazi, and then we go back to the Good Quest, and then back to the soldiers, and then the rabbis happen. It's so hard to keep up with because you're like out of breath by all this stuff that's going on because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's insane. It's just, I think part of that line of things, like, he's building this world. If anything, I think I was so interested in what this world is and what all the people who inhabit it. And I think that it kind of explains the jumping around almost. It's almost like he had this world in his head and he's like, this is what all these characters are like in this world, you know?
I mean, I think it's effective. I don't think it's a bad quality. I think that's what makes this movie work so well. But it's just one of those things when you think about parallel editing, it doesn't look like this.
No.
Right? Like this isn't and this is definitely this is the cool thing about this movie is that it defies classical narratives, especially like in terms of editing and what you're supposed to do. And he just does. It's just like I'm just gonna do whatever I want. I want to cut to a slapstick routine. I will.
He made whatever he wanted in the skeleton of a fantasy like children's movie.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Some of my favorite movies of all time are that, you know, that are like genre films, but they divide conventions within the genre, which is so interesting to me.
Which, speaking of defying...
pushes the fucking genre forward. Like,
totally.
Like, this probably is a big movie for animation heads. They're like, wow, you can actually do this. Think about 1977, like, what movies were coming, like, what animated films that came out that were very adult like this? Like, probably not a lot, you know.
I mean, he was on the forefront, and, you know, comics were still, you know, you had a lot of people like George Crumb, a lot of these counterculture underground artists who were making this stuff for adults. Like, why are you making comics for adults? And this was along those things, and it just had a massive impact.
Right. Yeah. All right, man. I think I'm gonna end this Wizard review with one of my favorite quotes from the movie.
We also have to talk about the ending too before we end too. How I'm talking about how instead of the wizard duel that happens, you know, the Harry Potter wizard duels where it's between like Harry Potter and Voldemort, where they have the wand battle. Avatar's such a stud. He's such a fucking gangster that he walks up to Wolfdog and he's like, "Oh yeah, Mom taught me this when you were hanging out. And I was hanging with Mom in the crib and you were outside."
Well,
and then he whips out a gun and he shoots him in the chest.
I died laughing. I was like, "This is
what the
one
fuck?"
of the most insane movies
he
ever
executes him. There's no honor in that, and he doesn't do it around anybody, so he never talks about it. Like, everyone thinks honorable, you know, holy Avatar. It's like, no, he gang style murders Wolf style.
It's so funny, dude. It's so ridiculous. It's like, yeah, you're so right. Like, you think you're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be like magic. But he pulls out a fucking like that's the first time he had a gun. Like, you even know Avatar had a gun.
Yeah, and the good side. The whole time. Yeah, the good side's not supposed to have technology. That's the bad people.
Yeah, that was my favorite. That relates to this quote that I wanted to say.
Okay,
I love this
perfect.
Quote. It made me laugh so hard because it was so, like, on the nose, but great. They were like it was like very impassioned. It was like showing the destruction of this town and this fairy mother and the fairy kid. And the kid was like, "Why are they killing each other, Mommy?" And the mom goes, "Because they have weapons and technology. We just have love."
Wow.
And I think that sums up this movie very well. You know? Because the idea that, you know, the evil people had, you know, all these, you know, love trumps all.
Yeah.
You know, love trumps all. But it's weird that the end of the movie, Avatar kills him with a weapon.
With a gun, yeah.
So, I don't know, but it's great, and I thought it was really funny and weird and great. So,
yeah, I agree. I was totally into this film.
Wizards.
Through and through. Wizards! Or as we like to call it, Sarzu. Zoo. Sarzu.
This is Thicc and Gunner approved.
Thicc and, you want to say it together? What does that make it? Thicc, do you approve of it?
Yeah, I approve of this one.
I also approve of it. You know what that makes it? Ready? Here we go. Thicc and butter approved. Nice. That was
so horrible.
that was the best one yet. We haven't done a better one besides that.
All right, people. All right. So, me and Jesse. Well, I'm not gonna say it. We have a special episode coming next week. It's gonna be exciting. Well, I'm not gonna say it. It's gonna be a surprise.
It's gonna be secret.
It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting. We're gonna have a few episodes, maybe. Who knows? That's all I'm gonna say. But for next week, I have a film that I would like to discuss because, believe it or not, there are some movies that have come out in 2020 thanks to the power of streaming and the power of the streaming services having a lot of money.
God bless.
We're able to buy these movies and put it on Hulu. And I saw a movie recently that I absolutely loved. And it's called Palm Springs. Some of you might have heard about it. This is a Hulu film. And we're going to discuss it next week. It stars Kristen Migliotti.
Migliotti?
I think she's amazing. I wish I knew how to pronounce her last name.
I've never seen her before in my life.
Andy Samberg. So, this is a film that won the... Did it win? I think it won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance. And it also broke the record for the highest selling movie in Sundance history. Hulu bought it for $17 million and 69 cents. Funny story about that. The Lonely Island, produced this movie, and The Lonely Island, being, Andy Samberg and, his two buddies, they produced it. And it's the most Lonely Island shit ever. They were in the bidding war with the movie. A bunch of these, studios were trying to buy it, and Hulu was like $17 million, and they found out that if they went up like 1 cent, they would break the record. But instead of doing that, they were like, how about 69 more cents? And they were like, okay. So that's pretty funny. Lonely Island cuts that they beat the record by 69 cents.
That's hilarious.
But that's great. And the movie is phenomenal. So I'm really excited to talk about it. Jesse hasn't seen it yet. So
nope. I saw a trailer, but that's it. I didn't even see the full trailer because it's giving too much away.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen the trailer, but go watch trailers, man. Go watch trailers.
Good trailers are good, I think, but the problem is that sometimes... If you're already going to
watch it, though, don't watch it,
Yeah.
If you're already planning on watching it.
Yes, yes, I agree with that. If you have a movie that you want to go see, just watch the movie. If you're checking out movies saying, well, I like this, trailers are great.
Right, exactly, 100%. So that's what we're going to do next week. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, subscribe.
Subscribe. Tell your mother.
Tell your mother.
And your father.
Tell your brother.
Stepsister.
Cousin.
Your this long lost grandmother.
Tell your cat. I don't give a damn.
Go to your great grandfather's grave and tell him too. He can come. He's welcome.
Listen to the Thicc and Gunner in heaven.
In heaven. Hey, our podcast is available everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Heaven, Hell,
Spotify,
Purgatory, that weird place in Stephen King's Nightmares, all those places. We're available everywhere, thanks to the internet. It crosses all realms.
Check out the description of this video for links to all of that, what Jesse just said.
Yeah.
And we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.